Hello there and welcome back to the Science Sleepy Minds. Tonight you're drifting through deep space. Nothing but stars above and silence all around. That kind of silence that makes your bones hum if you think too hard. A faint cosmic wind nudges your ship, if you can call it that, toward a dark speck ahead. Except it's not quite dark, and not quite a speck. That's the first problem. It's supposed to be a black hole. You know, the kind that eats light and time and maybe even hope. But this thing, it glows. Not brightly, not like a star. It glows faintly, irregularly, like a candle flickering under a wet glass. You squint. You do that thing where you tilt your head like that's going to help. It doesn't. Still, something is very wrong. You've heard of Sagittarius, a star, the black hole at the center of our galaxy. You've seen those weird, blurry donut images from the Event Horizon telescope, the first time humans ever saw a black hole. Well, this isn't that. This thing isn't even pretending to follow the rules, and you're headed straight for it. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop your location and local time in the comments. I always love seeing where you're watching from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've seen starfields before. You've coasted through the constellations, past the sleepy glow of nebulae and the glitter dust rings of dead suns. But the void around this black hole isn't dark. Not fully. It's quieter than space should be, sure, but there's a shimmer at the edge of your vision, like heat rising off a desert highway. A visual hiccup in the void. You drift closer. Your instruments? Useless. Ones spinning numbers that don't even qualify as complex. They look like someone let a cat walk across a calculator. Another screen reads simply, "You're here." Very helpful. Black holes are supposed to have one job: suck. Light, matter, time, inconvenient uncles, everything gets slurped down into a singularity where physics has a breakdown and refuses to answer questions. But this one doesn't pull you in, it waits. And now you're waiting too. Because you've just realized something wild, you can see it. Not the gas spiraling around it, not the accretion disk, not some halo of radiation or charged particles or heroic math guesses. You're looking at it, straight on, and it glimmers like it knows you're watching. That in and of itself should be impossible. Black holes don't reflect, they don't sparkle, and they definitely don't appear to breathe. This one does, slowly. A swell of energy, like a chest rising, followed by a subtle contraction. There's no sound, but you feel the rhythm like a second heartbeat thudding somewhere inside your suit. 1, 2, 1, 2, like it's syncing up with your pulse. Cute and horrifying. The history books, well, the ones you half remember from that general ed physics class you almost failed, say black holes form when stars die. Massive ones. They collapse in on themselves, crush everything down to a point of infinite density, a singularity wrapped in an event horizon. No light escapes, no information escapes, no snacks escape. This one doesn't seem to be hiding anything. In fact, as you drift even closer, the light it gives off begins to pulse in familiar shades. Blues, greens, maybe a little coral pink. Colours you haven't seen since childhood birthday candles or late-night storefronts. It's nostalgic. That should concern you. Historians still argue whether ancient Babylonian astronomers noticed celestial anomalies that might have been black holes. Probably not. But if they had seen this, they'd have rewritten every myth in clay and blood. You're just hovering in your ship, wondering if you finally hit the part of your sci-fi playlist where the impossibly sentient space object decides to make you part of the story. The shimmer intensifies, you ease closer, or maybe it's easing toward you. Hard to say. Perspective gets weird when space-time starts doing yoga around gravitational monsters. Remember when scientists thought nothing could escape a black hole? Then Hawking came along with radiation and said, well, actually, that discovery shook up the physics community like a piñata full of paradoxes. And you're about to get thwacked with a few more. Because as you approach the surface, again, this isn't supposed to have a surface, you see texture, not smoothness, not a fuzzy edge or a blurry shadow. Texture. Veins, almost. Like crystal fractures in obsidian. Or circuitry. The lines glow faintly, like computer traces, like veins filled with some kind of digital blood. Then you see the first symbol. It's small, delicate, nested inside a loop of glowing strands. It looks almost like a script, a language you can almost, but not quite, read. A pang of recognition hits, like hearing a half-remembered song from a dream you're not sure was ever real. You blink. The symbol blinks back. Just once. Somewhere in the back of your head, a nervous little voice whispers, "This is fine." It is not fine. You float motionless mere kilometers above the anomaly. Your thrusters idle. Even time feels like it's waiting, and there's something watching you from within. You don't see it, not directly, but you feel it. Here's your first real-world twist. There's a theory, fringe but oddly sticky, that not all black holes are destructive. Some might be windows, portals, or even preserved bits of a previous universe, like a backup file the cosmos never quite deleted. That's the vibe you're getting now. Even the air in your suit feels charged. Your thoughts come too fast and too clear. Memories light up in perfect detail. Your 7th birthday. The smell of your grandmother's basement. The first time you kissed someone and they kissed back. Why is that all coming up now? Because this black hole isn't just breaking the rules of gravity. It's breaking you. Gently, politely, but unmistakably. Like it's peeling off layers of reality and holding them up to the light, seeing what's underneath. And right now you're floating at the threshold of something that should not exist. You don't fall. That's the weirdest part. This is supposed to be the part where you tumble helplessly toward oblivion, where tidal forces stretch your atoms like taffy and physics itself starts screaming. That's what you were mentally bracing for. A quick descent into darkness, some poetic thoughts, and then a polite obliteration. But instead, nothing. No sudden yank. No spiraling death dive. Just a calm float toward a thing that, let's be honest, is really failing at being a black hole. It's still there in front of you, this shimmering, glitching sphere of not dark. And the glow is brighter now. Still not like a star, but more like one of those LED light bulbs that claims to be warm white and ends up buzzing faintly and making your kitchen look like a hospital. Yeah, like that. Very cozy, very unsettling. It doesn't pull you, it doesn't repel you, it just waits. There's a quote, attributed to everyone from Hawking to Homer Simpson, that black holes are nature's way of saying, there's no escape. But this one feels more like a politely open door, like a hotel lobby with no receptionist, like a therapist's office where the couch is already warm. You drift closer, propelled by nothing you can name, and the details start to sharpen. For one thing, the shape is not right. Most black holes are supposed to be spherical, at least as far as we understand. That's what happens when mass collapses inward symmetrically. But this one is subtly wrong. The surface, again, it shouldn't have one, is lumpy. Not just gravitationally distorted, architecturally lumpy, like there's some intention behind the shape. It curves and bulges in certain places, almost like a seashell that someone tried to build using blueprints from a dream. Historians still argue whether medieval Islamic scholars had glimpses of black hole-like ideas when studying gravitational collapse in early astrophysics. But you doubt any of them would have predicted this. You roll your vessel slowly along the edge of the object and light dances in ways that feel like language. The veins you noticed earlier, those glowing circuit-like patterns, pulse faintly with a slow golden rhythm. They almost match your breathing now, which is absolutely not okay. Your hand trembles slightly on the console. You're not scared, exactly. Just being watched by a glowing lump of reality-defying space object that somehow feels like it wants to give you life advice, which is worse. And then something shifts. The glow flickers, not like a power outage, more like blinking. It pulses 3 times, then stops. You blink back purely on instinct. That's when you realize something very important. This isn't just some rogue black hole breaking the rules. It's aware of the rules and choosing to break them, like a kid folding Monopoly money into paper airplanes. Still, you try to scan it. The usual sensors don't work. Big surprise. But you activate a deep spectrum LiDAR pulse just to map the surface. It fires, pings back, and the screen goes black. Then green. Then it displays a diagram that you definitely didn't program. It's a map of you, not your ship. You, bones, muscles, brain. Your thoughts, perhaps. Your regrets. That one awkward message you sent in 2016. All there, all catalogued. The data is gently scrolling, almost politely, like the black hole is just double-checking your file before letting you in. There's a fringe theory, yes, another one, that certain cosmic anomalies are not only observing the universe but archiving it. That the universe doesn't forget things, it stores them in weird places. Light echoes in gas clouds, gravity imprints in background radiation, memories filed in folds of space-time like receipts you'll never quite throw away. This black hole, it's giving strong cosmic filing cabinet energy, and right now it seems to be opening a drawer with your name on it. You lean in. One of the symbols on its surface lights up again, the same one you saw before. This time you recognize the shape, not what it means, but that it matches something from your childhood. The doodle you used to draw in notebooks, the shape you scrawled in condensation on car windows, a curl, a hook, a line. You never knew why you liked that shape so much. Apparently neither did your subconscious, but the black hole seems to know. Your ship starts to drift again. You're not piloting it. You're just along for the ride now. A slow orbit around something that isn't a star, isn't a planet, and sure as entropy isn't just some collapsed remnant of stellar mass. You remember that goofy phrase your astronomy professor said once? Black holes are where God divided by zero. Funny at the time. Now, less so. You circle the anomaly, and a low hum starts to rise. Not in your ears, but in your mind. Not language, not music. Something else. A pattern. Familiar. You hum it under your breath, surprised when your voice matches it perfectly. How do you already know the song? This shouldn't be happening, and yet it is. You realize that something about this black hole feels less like a cosmic disaster and more like a terminal, a place where information comes and goes, where identities might be uploaded rather than lost. You could leave, maybe. You're not sure anymore where away is, but for now you hover at the edge of something that isn't pulling you, isn't forcing anything, and yet is absolutely going to change you. Whatever's inside, it's waiting, and it already knows your name. You've heard of gravity. You grew up with it, fell off bikes because of it, spilled orange juice because of it. You've cursed it, praised it, and silently thanked it every time your feet found solid ground. But the gravity here, it's doing something else. You're not weightless. That's the weird part. Your ship is still gently floating, but your body feels tethered. Not pulled down, not pushed, just aware of something underneath you, something directional and deliberate. You lean forward and your spine tingles like you're standing near a massive subwoofer, tuned to frequencies humans weren't meant to hear. Gravity's not dragging you, it's pointing at you. Outside your window, the not-so-black hole undulates in impossible geometry. The shimmer grows more refined. You now see arcs and angles within it, like someone wrapped a soap bubble around a cathedral. Every few seconds you catch glimpses of lines that shouldn't be visible, not in 3D space anyway. Angles that make your eyes ache and your stomach briefly forget what down means. So you do the only reasonable thing, you unbuckle and float toward it. There's a gentle pressure at your back now, like an invisible palm resting between your shoulder blades giving you permission. Not shoving, not demanding, just suggesting. You're not being pulled by gravity, you're being invited. Remember how Einstein described gravity not as a force but as the curvature of space-time? How massive objects bend space like a bowling ball on a trampoline? Well, congratulations. You're now the marble rolling around a bowling ball that's taken up interpretive dance and maybe a little light sorcery. And it's not just physics warping, time is acting strange too. You check your onboard clock. It's fine, boring even. Seconds ticking by like nothing's wrong. But your own perception? Not synced at all. You see motion outside the window, stars stretching, bending, pausing, as if the universe is skipping frames. And when you blink, your ship doesn't reset. It reshuffles. Panels flip. Lights flicker backward. A screen that was dark now shows your face from 3 seconds ago, blinking in reverse. This isn't time travel. Not exactly. It's more like time resampling. Historians still argue whether time was even considered linear by early Vedic philosophers. Some believed time moved cyclically. Birth, destruction, rebirth. Looking at this thing now, you're starting to see why that idea stuck around. Because in this gravity field, time doesn't just bend. It slinks. It rolls over like a sleepy cat and occasionally swipes at causality like it's just a toy. Your own muscles feel unaffected. No spaghettification, no nausea. But your brain, that's a different story. It's like standing in a room where everyone's telling their stories out of order, but somehow you still understand the plot. One moment you think of your 10th birthday. The next you remember reading about time dilation on Wikipedia at 3 a.m, quietly freaking out. Then you recall something that hasn't happened yet. A hallway, a red corridor, a door with your name on it. You blink, it's gone, but the memory remains. Something here is pulling you into narrative gravity, like your life is starting to follow a story arc that this black hole knows better than you do. And it's not even pretending to be subtle anymore. Outside, the geometry begins to flex. The lumpy surface, so asymmetrical before, now moves with elegance, each shift accompanied by that low, familiar hum. Not noise, not music. More like consensus. It's harmonizing space around you, and you're starting to sync up. You lean back in your chair and close your eyes. For a moment, you just breathe, and that's when the air changes. Still breathable, still crisp, but now tinged with something old, dusty, like old library paper or desert air after rain. The scent shouldn't be here. You're in a sealed cabin, no external atmosphere, but it is, and your brain tags it immediately. This is the smell of a place with memory. That's not your thought. It's something else's. The fringe crowd, the ones with wormhole tattoos and 4D chessboards, sometimes whisper about gravity consciousness overlap. The idea that if gravity is tied to mass and energy, and the brain is just energy in a lattice of organic matter, then maybe, just maybe, powerful enough gravity could brush against consciousness itself, like a finger tracing across a wet mirror. And that's exactly what it feels like now. You reach out to touch the viewport, just glass, cold, stable. But behind it, in the space between spaces, the black hole twitches. Not physically, but conceptually. You sense it shift to look at you, even though it has no eyes, no face, no form you could pin down on a chart. But you feel the gaze, and then, impossibly, a panel in your ship displays a word. Approach. Written in your own handwriting. Yeah, that's new. You could chalk it up to hallucination, cosmic radiation, an overdue nap, but your fingers know better. They tremble slightly, not from fear, from recognition. Somewhere inside you, a deep part remembers this moment, like you've lived it before, like it's been waiting for you. You tap a button, the ship inches forward. As you cross an invisible threshold, still no event horizon, just a change in texture. Everything outside goes pin-drop silent. Not soundless like vacuum, soundless like a pause before something is said. Even the stars go still, and for a moment you swear you see Earth reflected in the surface of the black hole. Not a literal image, more like a memory snapshot hovering in a skin of light that shouldn't be there. The smell of autumn, a flash of your childhood bedroom, that song you forgot you loved, all held in a shimmer, just for you. You're not just near this thing now, you're part of its story. And gravity. Gravity has stopped pretending it's just physics. You'd expect it to hurt. If you were dropping into a gravitational nightmare, you'd think your body would at least notice. Your bones should ache. Your brain should vibrate like a tuning fork in a microwave. Something should scream loudly about the fact that you are approaching a singularity, the so-called end of physics. But you feel fine, suspiciously fine. That's probably worse. Instead of pain, there's pressure. Not in your body, in your thoughts, like someone slowly thumbing through the pages of your mind, checking the footnotes, underlining memories with a soft pencil. You lean forward. The edge of the black hole is closer now, but still not behaving. It doesn't curve in a clean line like a sphere. Instead, it loops in jagged spirals that stretch and contract, almost breathing, or maybe glitching. And then the distortion intensifies. For just a flicker, the space around you folds, not collapses, folds like a napkin. One moment you're looking straight at the hole, the next you're staring into your own back, or rather, a slightly younger version of yourself, suspended in the same cockpit, blinking in the same slow rhythm you're doing now. It's like your ship has been bent into a four-dimensional pretzel, where past, present and possible, you're all sharing one incredibly awkward hallway. You blink again, and the image vanishes. Or maybe it just rotates out of your timeline. Yeah, this thing isn't a black hole, it's an editor. You're inside a gravity well that's more authorial than physical. Like it's rewriting its own rules every few seconds, tossing out the parts it doesn't like, and doubling down on the ones that make you uncomfortable in a very polite, increasingly personal way. And somewhere in that mess you start to feel a change. Not in the ship, in you, a sensation like you're stretching, not physically but temporally. Your memories begin to drift out of sequence. You recall the future with more clarity than the past. You forget your name briefly, but remember your first lie with perfect clarity. The taste of a red popsicle on a summer day, the way it stained your tongue blue, which made no sense, but kids never questioned that kind of betrayal. You blink. Your name comes back. Probably. This is where the rules get really fuzzy. Einstein's general relativity handles gravity, time, curved space, small stuff. But it breaks down inside a singularity. That's where quantum mechanics is supposed to step in. Problem is, they hate each other, like cats in a bathtub. Gravity says, smooth curves. Quantum says, discrete chaos. And neither can explain what happens when you fall into a point of infinite density. So what happens when the black hole isn't infinitely dense? What if it's something else entirely? That's the feeling now, that this object is breaking the rules not by accident but by design. Like it was built, not born, engineered maybe by someone or something that saw our physics and said, oh, cute, let's do it differently. Fringe theory time, some physicists think our universe might be a simulation, not metaphorically, literally. That space-time is made of code, grains, packets, like pixels or qubits, and if that's true, then black holes might be the debug points, the admin access tunnels, the cosmic version of view source, and you're staring at one. You lean closer to the viewport. It's not just pulsing anymore, it's responding. You think, and the shimmer changes. You remember something and it ripples. You hum softly, and it pulses in perfect time. This thing is listening. Historians still argue whether the Library of Alexandria held ancient records of cosmic anomalies, maybe even black hole folklore. Lost knowledge, fragmented records. But if anything remembers the forgotten, it's this, because now you're sure. This black hole has memory. You drift closer. The shimmer shifts again. Only now it's forming shapes. Faces, maybe. Not quite human, not quite alien, abstract, symbolic. You see a spiral, an hourglass, a cracked clock face, and then a perfect cube rotating in 7 impossible directions at once. Each one is accompanied by that same low hum in your mind, a sound that has somehow become your own internal voice, not speaking, not instructing, just acknowledging. Then your own face flickers across the shimmer, except it's not your face now, it's older, and then younger, then other. Variations, versions of you that maybe never existed. You see yourself as a child, then as a stranger, then as someone who might have lived in a different century, wearing clothes you've never owned but somehow remember the feel of. Your body remains still, but your identity, it's being rearranged like loose change in cosmic pockets, and still, somehow you're calm. The fear should have come by now, that primal instinct that says, turn back, but it's dulled, like it's being filtered out. You can almost feel the black hole softening the sharper edges of your panic, whispering, you're doing fine, sweetheart, this is normal, which frankly is rude and terrifying and oddly comforting. Your ship begins to glide slowly now, into the outer folds of the shimmer, not the singularity, not yet, but the threshold before it, the layer that shouldn't exist, the one that physics textbooks skip over because it makes no sense, the layer where everything should be torn apart, but instead, it's peaceful. You pass through a membrane of light that brushes your hull like a silk curtain. Sensors go dead. Your screens all read the same message now. Alignment achieved. Okay, didn't know you were misaligned. Thanks. The hull begins to glow softly, but not from heat. It's resonating. The atoms themselves, your atoms too, are vibrating in tune. With what? Good question. You're too busy trying to stop your memories from reorganizing into alphabetical order, and then you feel it. Deep in your chest, a pulse. Not yours, not the black holes and the universes. One slow thump that seems to echo through every atom around you. A reminder, a reset. A beat you didn't know was missing until it returned. Something has changed. Gravity no longer acts on mass alone, it's acting on meaning. And somehow you've become part of the equation. The black hole breathes again, or something like breathing. You're done trying to describe this thing in human terms. It's not playing by the rules, and frankly, neither are you anymore. It pulses, but with intention, like it's testing you, or syncing with you, or maybe just showing off like a bored deity doing tricks for fun. This time the shimmer flutters inward, like the entire surface contracts slightly, then exhales a ring of soft glowing vapour. Not gas, not plasma, more like memory steam. It floats toward your ship, dissolving before it reaches the hull, but not before you feel it, smell it, hear it. Except the sound isn't from outside, it's coming from your mind, and it's your voice, whispering something you don't remember saying, a memory that doesn't belong to any moment you've lived. You pause, close your eyes, and there it is again. Everything's just moving backward now except the decision. Cool, cryptic, slightly threatening, very on brand. You open your eyes, and the shimmer around the hole is more intense. You're seeing layers now, rings of distortion, nested like Russian dolls, each one reflecting a different state of time. One ripples backward, another forwards. A third just vibrates as though undecided. The innermost layer? Still. Absolutely still. You lean closer. There's a fringe theory, one that most physicists avoid unless they've had 2 espressos and given up on tenure, that black holes might contain closed time-like curves, basically time loops, pockets where cause and effect don't shake hands, they wrestle, where events loop endlessly, where things happen because they already happened. You think you're seeing one now, or worse, you think you are one now, because suddenly your own thoughts feel recursive. You remember approaching this black hole, then you remember remembering it, then you remember watching yourself remember it, like you're trapped inside a nested doll made entirely of déjà vu. You mutter, "Am I in a loop?" The ship answers. It doesn't speak exactly, but the lights on the console flash 3 times, same rhythm as before, the same blink the black hole made. You're starting to get the hint. Everything here runs on a pattern, not a clock, not a force, a preference. The universe, at least in this warped slice of it, seems to be folding toward a specific state, a configuration, and you're part of it now. You check the readouts, no mass readings, no distance, just one line, scrolling slowly, local space-time integrity, variable. Yeah, you'd noticed. You lean back, trying to think clearly. But time, your time, is beginning to fray. One moment, you're upright. The next, you're watching yourself from behind. Then you're younger, then older. They're not you at all, but someone else. Their memories flicker through like shortwave radio static. A glimpse of a wooden table, a war, a love letter that was never sent. Whoever they were, you feel them go quiet again, slipping back into the black hole's archive. Because that's what this is, isn't it? Not a grave, not a prison, a library. Historians still argue whether ancient Egyptian priests believed the stars preserved the souls of kings. Some translations of the pyramid text hint at the black void where the pharaoh becomes light. For years, scholars waved that off as poetic nonsense. You're not so sure now. Because this black hole, it's not destroying information, it's cataloguing it, and you're being sorted. It's subtle, but you start to notice certain memories are brighter, stickier. Moments where you made choices, where paths split, the time you almost ran away, the day you decided not to, the job you turned down, the person you never called back. Those moments glow in your mind like embers. The rest? Fuzzy. It's like the black hole doesn't care what happened, it only wants to know when the decision was made. You test the theory, you think of a decision you haven't made yet, and the shimmer responds. The innermost layer of the black hole contracts, forming a tight, almost geometric iris, like a camera lens zooming in. It flickers, then expands again. It saw it, your future, or at least one version of it. Now you really get it. This thing doesn't just distort time, it curates it. Picks the moments that matter and holds them up to the light like a jeweler inspecting a rare gem. And it's about to choose what to keep. You grab the console, breathe deeply, you speak, not to your ship, not to yourself, but to it. What do you want? The shimmer pauses, then it answers. This time the message doesn't scroll, it appears on every surface. Your monitors, the glass, even the inside of your eyelids for a half-second blink. The question is malformed. Of course it is. You try again. What are you? Another pause, then, I am a result. You feel it now, deep in your chest, in your skull, behind your eyes. This black hole isn't just mass and energy, it's meaning. The cosmic residue of choices made, outcomes reached. Not a place where reality ends, but where it resolves. It's the final footnote on the book of what was. And maybe, It's what's left behind when enough choices have been made that nothing more needs to happen. So where does that leave you? You glance again at your console. This time, the message has changed. Decision pending. You're the last variable in this corner of space-time, no pressure. You don't know what happens next. But the shimmer intensifies again. The spiral contracts. The geometry sharpens. You've entered the zone where time might run backwards, sideways, or just loop the same half-second over and over forever. And somehow, you're calm. Because you're starting to realize this black hole isn't a monster, it's a mirror. And it's waiting for you to choose who you are before it decides what to do with you. You pass the threshold. Or at least what should have been the threshold. No warning, no explosion, no spaghettification. Just a subtle click. Like reality's door just closed behind you. And now, you're inside. Inside what? Well, that is the question. You expected the event horizon to mark a clear line. The point of no return. Cross it, and light can't escape. Information goes missing. Time grinds to a halt. At least that's what the textbooks say. That's what black holes do, right? Except this one, there is no horizon. There is no line. There is only transition. A smooth one at that. So gentle, in fact, that you didn't even notice you'd crossed over. No screaming alarms, no heat, no stretching. Just a sudden, inexplicable stillness. Even your thoughts slow down. You blink, once, and everything outside the window is wrong. Not dangerous, not hostile, just rearranged. Space doesn't look like space anymore. There are no stars, no void, no curvature. What you see now is colour. Fluid, rolling, non-Newtonian colour, like melted glass flowing in slow motion. It moves in waves, as if the entire interior of this black hole is a softly breathing lung of the universe. And somehow you can breathe in here too. Your oxygen levels remain unchanged. That makes no sense. Your ship isn't sealed anymore. Part of the hull seems to have dissolved as you cross the threshold, but there's still pressure, still air, still gravity, though not the kind you're used to. This new gravity pulls more gently, like a strong memory tugging at your attention, rather than a force acting on your mass. You stand, and that's when it hits you. Your body feels great. Better than usual. No joint stiffness, no aches. That weird pain in your right knee, gone. You feel the way you did at 17, right before you messed up your back trying to lift that couch on your own. The black hole doesn't just break the laws of reality, it upgrades you, and you're not alone in here. Shapes hover in the distance, not people, not creatures, but presences. Silhouettes of logic, maybe. Outlines of decisions that didn't get made. They shimmer faintly in the air like heat mirages and vanish if you look at them directly. Some are small and flicker like fireflies. Others are massive like the ghosts of forgotten planets. They don't approach, they wait. And you remember something a professor once said as a joke. If a black hole could think, it would be God with boundary issues. You're starting to think he wasn't entirely wrong. Because this space, this internal pocket of unreality, isn't chaotic. It's curated. Everything inside it is deliberate. The shimmer of colour, the silence, the faint, ever-present hum that's almost music but never quite resolves into a melody. Historians still argue whether ancient Mayan glyphs referencing sky mirrors were metaphors for eclipses or hints at celestial anomalies far stranger. Given what you're seeing now, you wouldn't rule anything out. You take a step forward, and space folds. Not the floor, space. With a single motion, you move farther than you should. You blink, and suddenly you're miles closer to the centre. There's no propulsion, no jetpack, no math, just intention. Want to go somewhere? Think about it. The black hole handles the rest. You stop walking. Because now you see it. At the very centre of this space, a shape. Not a singularity, not a point. A structure. It pulses gently. A geometric impossibility, shifting from sphere to cube to 12-dimensional nightmare and back again. It holds steady even as it morphs, like an idea that refuses to collapse into just one form. You know, the kind of thing that would make Euclid weep, and it's calling to you. Not loudly, not even urgently, just consistently. Like it knows you're coming. Like it knew all along. As you float closer, your ship disintegrates behind you, gracefully like a dandelion puff caught in a breeze. You don't panic, you don't even feel it. The ship was just scaffolding anyway. Whatever you are now, you no longer need it. You're lighter than you've ever been. Not weightless, unburdened, Like you've shed your timeline, your gravity, your name, and what's left of you is the part that makes choices. The part that stares at the void and says, yeah, let's poke it. You reach the edge of the structure. No fanfare, no defense mechanisms, no barrier. It lets you in. Inside, the space is flat, warm, calm. A room, somehow, made of nothing, but perfect nothing. Clean, smooth, intentional. The kind of nothingness that costs more than something. Minimalist if you want to be cute about it. And then, across from you, there's a chair. Simple, comfortable looking, not alien, not ancient, just right. You sit. Of course you do. It would be rude not to. And in front of you, appearing with no noise and no delay, is a screen. A floating slab of light, angled toward your eyes, and on it, frames begin to play. Your life, but not how you remember it. These are moments, decision points, pauses in your timeline. Not what you did, but when you did it. The delay before a yes, the hesitation before a no, the deep, weird pause before sending that text at 1:47 a.m. These are the milliseconds where the future pivoted. The screen flashes, you're reviewing divergence frames, and you laugh. Because of course that's what they're called. Of course the black hole organizes your life by butterfly effects and nervous hesitations. The cosmos isn't judging you, it's just interested. The screen goes blank. Then one line appears. Would you like to revise? Oh, now that's a twist. You hesitate. Not because you're afraid, but because the offer is so tempting, so strangely casual, that it makes your teeth itch. What would it mean to revise? Is this a second chance? A total reset? A fork in reality? You reach toward the screen. It flashes. The horizon was never real. And you pause again. Because maybe it never was. Maybe all of this, the shimmer, the folds, the gravity that behaves more like memory than force, is just how the universe lets you look back. And maybe the black hole isn't a place you go to vanish. Maybe it's where you go to decide. You stare at the screen. The room, if you can even call it that, is still. No clocks, no ambient hum, no fake digital buzz from imaginary machinery. Just silence so clean it has edges. Your reflection doesn't appear in the floating panel before you, though it should. Light hits you, but refuses to bounce back. It's not being difficult, it just doesn't have permission. And that's the creeping sensation again. You're not in a black hole, you're in a process. The screen flickers, a new message appears. State, uncollapsed. You don't move, not yet. You let the words sit. Because deep in your memory, or someone's memory, maybe even the universe's, you remember reading about a cat. Schrodinger's cat. The one that's both dead and alive until someone checks. The paradox meant to show how quantum mechanics makes everything weird the moment you try to observe it. How existence seems to teeter on the edge of awareness itself. You finally get it now. This isn't a singularity, this isn't even space-time anymore. You're Schrödinger's gravity well. Alive and dead, here and gone, falling and never having left. Your hand hovers over the screen, and another line of text fades in. Collapse state by intent. You don't choose, not yet. You look around first, and that's when you notice something new. The shimmering wall behind you, where there used to be blank silence, is now a window. Not a real one. Something closer to a visual possibility. On the other side, timelines unravel and braid together like tangled headphone wires in a dream. You lean in, and you see yourself. Thousands of you. Billions. Each one locked into a different branch. In one, you turned left instead of right and ended up working on a vineyard in Argentina. In another, you're standing in a desert at dawn, staring into a cracked mirror. One you is crying in a grocery store aisle. Another is dancing with someone who doesn't exist in your original memory set. These aren't hallucinations, these are outcomes. Scholars still argue whether the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics was ever meant to apply to macroscopic objects like you. You're pretty sure it wasn't, but here you are, a full-sized adult human floating inside a quantum-flavoured mystery bubble where potential selves are flickering like mood lighting. You look away from the window. The screen is still waiting, not impatiently, not judgmentally, just waiting. Collapse state by intent. So you do something stupid. You think of a question instead of an answer, and you think, what if I don't collapse? And the shimmer around the chair deepens just slightly, as if the structure is intrigued. The black hole, that wasn't a hole, is clearly paying attention. It answers. The screen flashes, then observation remains entangled. Ugh, typical quantum sass. You lean back in the chair, watching the floating possibilities across the window ripple again. You start to get the sense that you're not in control of time anymore, not even a little, and not because it's fighting you, because it's yours to begin with. This space, this shimmering interior isn't about physics, it's about probability, your probability. Every twitch of your brain, every almost choice, every deferred decision that haunted you quietly and never got a resolution. They're all here. It's like the black hole said, "Before I eat you, how about a nice little existential audit?" You get the impression that some visitors collapse immediately. No hesitation, no questions, just yes or no. Button pushed, branch chosen, state sealed. But you're indecisive, and this place loves that. Because the longer you linger, the more it can unfurl. It's not impatient. This isn't a final test, it's an invitation to understand what the laws of reality don't normally let you feel. That choice isn't a moment, it's a spectrum, and black holes, maybe they don't delete information, maybe they just keep asking the same question. Who are you trying to be? You're starting to see the shimmer in layers now, each a different version of you that nearly existed, and some of them weren't you at all. A few are echoes, residual people. You stare into one layer and see a figure sitting in the chair across from yours. Same room, same screen, but not you. They look familiar, not identical, like a sibling you never had. Their screen flashes something else entirely. Collapse, deferred by recursion. Whoa! They glance toward you, just a flicker, not direct eye contact. More like a parallel universe giving you a nod of acknowledgement before turning back to its own cosmic quiz. So now you have to ask, if you're not the only observer, are you still the one who decides? Theories abound about observer effects. Some say observation is the fundamental act of creation, that nothing truly is until it's watched, until it's weighed, until it's chosen. But here, in this black hole's impossible living memory theatre, you're realising that observation is just another kind of gravity. And you've been falling this whole time, just not through space, through possibility. And this black hole, this result, it's the gravity well that forms wherever too many choices converge in one consciousness and refuse to resolve. You're not near a singularity. You are one. A soft chime rings, not from a machine, from reality itself. The screen clears. One more message appears. All outcomes remain until you decide. And for the first time, you notice how tired you are. Not sleepy, not physically drained, just existentially tired. The kind of tired that only comes from remembering too many versions of yourself at once. You stare at the screen, your finger twitches, the shimmer outside stills, and the cosmos very politely waits. So here's where it gets weird. And yes, now it gets weird. Because as you sit there, finger hovering near the screen like some cosmic "are you still watching?" prompt, the black hole decides it's time to show you something new, something physical. You're not sure if the room moves or if your perception just clicks to a different tab in reality. Either way, the screen fades, the chair dissolves, the window behind you melts into a fog, and then, there it is, the black hole. But from inside, you finally see it. The core, the singularity that isn't, the thing at the center of the shimmer, and it has structure, like real, geometrical, logic-defying shape. Not a swirling vortex, not a burning pit. No, what floats before you is something else entirely. A tangled weave of crystalline angles, folded into a shape your brain can't fully process. Every time you try to focus, it shifts, not disappears, just adjusts itself so it's always 10% too complicated for you to understand. It's like trying to read a sentence in a language that doesn't have verbs or nouns, just intentions. And the shape? It's wrong. Beautifully, horribly wrong. It's symmetrical in ways that contradict symmetry. Balanced around axes that shouldn't exist. It looks like something designed by a being who considers 5-dimensional sculpture an afternoon hobby. You float closer, because of course you do. At this point, you've either come too far or were always meant to come this far. You can't tell anymore. The shape pulses once, and your bones resonate like a tuning fork for your skeleton. Not painful, just deeply persuasive. Every cell in your body suddenly remembers how old it is, even the ones you replaced last week. Your mitochondria get very quiet. Your DNA sits down and takes notes. Because this shape, it's the source code. or close to it. And here's a fun, off-the-books physics fact. Theoretical models suggest that if a black hole could retain structure inside its singularity, if it didn't compress everything to infinite density, it might look something like this. A geometry built out of information rather than mass. A standing wave of decision trees, a shape that stores outcomes. You're staring at a vault of history, not just matter. This isn't the crushed remains of a star. This is the compressed memory of a universe's worth of choices, and it's organized. Each shimmering spine of the structure hums with a different tone. Some are musical, others feel more narrative. You hear a sound that reminds you of your mother's voice calling you in for dinner when you were 6, then a door slamming shut, then laughter from someone you once loved, then silence, deep, echoing silence from a moment you never told anyone about. The shape is playing you, not to manipulate, just to map. You realize the black hole isn't storing information randomly, it's archiving it like an ancient library. Each thread of the shape is a timeline, each note a branch, every decision compressed into crystal logic and slotted into this impossible scaffolding. You float around it now, weightless but guided by gentle nudges. Like the shape is allowing you to orbit it the way moons dance around planets. The closer you get, the more detail emerges, and then you spot them. Symbols, etched into the edges of the structure, not engraved but embedded. A series of repeating markings, fractal in nature, curling and unfolding inwards the closer you look, and, surprise, surprise, you recognize them. You've drawn them before in notebooks, on napkins, absent-mindedly during long meetings or boring lectures. You always thought they were just doodles, spirals, hooks, geometric curls, but they're here at the heart of the black hole, like they've been waiting for you. Or maybe you were remembering them. Historians still argue whether crop circles, ancient cave spirals, and even the golden ratio were signs of cosmic intelligence, or just coincidence filtered through pattern-hungry human brains. But floating here, staring at these repeating glyphs, you start to wonder, maybe some part of you has always known how this would look, not because you were told, because you were built to recognize it. You reach out, slowly, reverently, and brush your hand against the edge of the shape. Your skin doesn't burn, it doesn't vanish, it vibrates, softly, and a stream of light curls from the point of contact, looping gently around your wrist. It wraps once, twice, then vanishes into the shimmer again. You've just been scanned, not biologically, not even mentally, temporally. It wanted to know when you are, not who, not why, just when. Because the shape doesn't care about your identity, it cares about your position in the tree of outcomes, where you land in the sequence of possibility. You are, in this moment, a vector, a line drawn through space and time, a thread in the braid. And the black hole? It's braiding, tying timelines together, pruning paths, storing results. You finally get what this place is, a decision engine, not an end, not a death, a filter, a refinery, where raw moments enter and crystallized choices emerge. It doesn't erase you, it keeps the version of you that mattered most. You drift back, gently pushed by the geometry itself, and feel a weight return. Not physical, not even emotional, just inertial. The slow tug of collapsing probability. Your window to observe, to choose, is closing. The structure begins to dim, folding in on itself in perfect, polite spirals. It doesn't vanish, it's just done with you, for now. And just before it disappears completely, a final symbol appears, burned into your memory with frightening clarity. A loop, twisting inward, then breaking. The only piece of asymmetry you've seen here. And in your mind, a quiet voice, not yours, whispers, "Something escaped." You shiver, because now you're not sure you're inside a sealed system anymore. Something got out. Maybe even before you came in. Maybe even through you. You're falling again, not physically. There's no wind, no impact, no stomach-lurching drop. But something in your perception is tilting, like a hallway slowly rotating under your feet, while everything insists you're still upright. The crystalline structure has vanished behind you, folded neatly into whatever dimension it came from. The shimmer is gone too, replaced by a kind of grey stillness. Not emptiness exactly, just the absence of intention, until you feel it. A pulse, slow and subtle at first, then stronger, rhythmic. Not a mechanical beat, not a heart, but something older, deeper. It moves through you like gravity that remembers, There's no surface, no ground. And yet you can feel something under your feet now, some kind of platform, invisible but present, like the floor of a dream you didn't realize had architecture. You're standing again, or floating upright at least, and every nerve in your body says you're not alone. And then it begins, the echo, not sound, not light, memory. It starts as a flicker in your peripheral vision, a blur of movement, a flash of colour, then a smell, wet concrete and rain, then a voice, someone saying your name in a way you haven't heard in years. You turn toward it and you're in a hallway, your hallway, childhood, the house you grew up in, the grainy carpet, the smell of old plastic and distant popcorn. It's perfect, too perfect, like a museum exhibit of your own life, rendered with obsessive precision. You walk forward, doors appear where they should, each one cracked open just a little. Inside, moments, snapshots, not full scenes, just glimpses. You at the kitchen table, pretending to like your broccoli. You at age 10, holding a flashlight under your chin and scaring yourself with stories you made up on the spot. You at 17, sitting in a car too long after the music stopped, trying to decide if this was a good night or a terrible one. Each room holds a version of you, paused, each one breathing memory into the space around it, and the black hole, whatever it truly is, lets you feel each of them, and then the hallway changes. The door frames shift, the rooms grow farther apart, and the memories inside, they start to fray. Now you're seeing things that didn't happen, you in a uniform from a job you never took, you holding a child that doesn't exist, you arguing in a language you've never spoken but somehow understand. The black hole isn't just playing memories anymore, it's playing potentials. Historians still argue whether dreams were ever meant to be explained by science, or if they're just the mind's way of making sense of uncollapsed states. Jung called them archetypes. Freud called them repressed wishes. But this feels like the universe dreaming you back into place. You press on. The hallway darkens behind you and you're aware, deeply aware, that you're being followed. Not by a person, by a presence, a sensation. The same pulse as before, but more focused now, closer, like someone or something is checking in, not chasing, just watching. And when you step into the final room, the dream collapses entirely. The space around you vanishes. No more doors, no more childhood house, just you, standing in a field of floating light threads, each one humming faintly. These are no longer memories. These are echoes of the universe itself. You drift among them. You pass one thread and hear the bang of the Big Bang. Not a sound, but a conceptual thunder that shakes the logic of space. You pass another and see the birth of a neutron star, its surface boiling with pressure and impossible math. Another thread pulses more gently, and as you reach for it, you feel something strange. It's yours, not metaphorically. This isn't a poetic turn. This particular echo is tied to your entry point into the black hole, the moment you crossed that invisible boundary. And now that you touch it, it begins to respond. It pulses faster, warmer. The hum deepens until it resonates in your ribs, and then the echo speaks, not in words, in awareness. You see it all. You see your approach from outside, moments before you ever laid eyes on the shimmer. You see your trajectory shift ever so slightly, not from thrust, from invitation. The black hole allowed you in, nudged the math, curved the light. You weren't the first, and you probably won't be the last, because here's the kicker. This black hole has done this before, thousands of times, millions, and every time it keeps something from those who enter, not their bodies, not their ships, their essence, their decisions. And now you understand the pulse. It's not energy, it's not magnetism, it's memory. This black hole has a heartbeat made of echoes, a rhythm composed of what it has chosen to remember from every intelligence that's fallen through its shimmer. Not lives, not thoughts, moments, the ones that mattered, the forks in time, the sharp edges of identity, the clicks of becoming. And you? You've just become one of them. The light thread you're holding pulses again, and in a sudden flash you feel your own moment being written into the pulse. Not stored, not preserved, integrated. It won't be a story, it'll be a rhythm. And in that instant, you feel yourself shared across the structure, passed along to corners of the anomaly that exist in multiple time frames. You become a pattern, woven into the strange hum that permeates everything inside this place. You're not being consumed, you're being recorded carefully, lovingly, Precisely. You were a variable, now you're a constant. And the pulse? It changes, just slightly, enough that someone, or something, entering the black hole tomorrow or yesterday or 10 million years from now will hear a slightly different beat, because you're in it now. And somehow, that doesn't feel like an ending, it feels like a starting point for someone else. So, you've left your mark. Or more accurately, your moment has been woven into the black hole's pulse like a tiny luminous stitch in the hem of an infinite vibrating tapestry. You're part of the rhythm now, a frequency in a reality scale lullaby that only certain things can hear. And what comes next isn't about you, at least not just. You're drifting again, suspended in that soft grey knot space where time is optional and directions are mostly decorative. But even without movement, something is shifting. You feel it first, not in your gut, deeper, in your narrative centre. You didn't even know that was a part of you until this very moment. The hum changes. The pulse you've synchronized with begins to carry meaning. Not just feeling, not just memory. Now it speaks, in symbols, in semiotics, in glimmering strands of implication that hit your brain like déjà vu dipped in Morse code. And the message is simple. It remembers everything. The black hole, the anomaly, whatever name you try to give it, it shrugs and continues archiving. Because it doesn't just remember you, it remembers everything. From the moment hydrogen first flirted with fusion, to the last flicker of thought in some future galaxy far beyond your species' lifespan. It holds the timeline in concentric spirals, and you're now floating toward the innermost ring, the place where memory gets personal. At first you don't recognize what you're seeing. The floating threads, previously shimmering with random universes, starlight and echo fragments, start to converge. They weave themselves into shapes, symbols, constructs with design. And you realize what you're looking at. Archives, not made of matter, made of meaning. Each construct pulses with intent. Some flicker rapidly, like mayflies in a memory stream. Others are ancient, dense, almost gravitational in their own right. You pass one that feels like it's older than this universe, its edges worn smooth by being thought of too many times, and just beyond it, you see something extraordinary, a lattice. At first it looks like art, spirals and helixes interlocking like alien DNA, sculpted by an architect on a cosmic sugar high. But the longer you look, the more familiar it becomes. Because the lattice responds to you, it reshapes based on your thoughts. Not in a literal way, not like moulding clay, but metaphorically. You remember water, and part of the structure ripples. You remember your first heartbreak, and the colour shifts to a deep blue tinged with silver. And then you remember a lie. A small one, barely even a thing. That time you said, "I'm fine," when you weren't. And the lattice stutters. A note goes flat in the rhythm. The black hole doesn't like falsehood, or rather, it prefers consistency. Honesty of state, integrity of echo. This is Schrödinger's moral compass, and you're suddenly very aware of every version of yourself you've ever been, and every version you might have been, because now the lattice opens and you see them. You, again, and again, and again. Not as full memories, but as compressed, active fragments. You catch glimpses, you choosing to say yes instead of no. You sitting beside someone and not saying the one thing that would have changed everything. You turning back instead of running forward. You laughing when you should have listened. It doesn't hurt, it's just real. And the black hole remembers them all. This isn't punishment, it's record keeping. You think of the term Akashic records. That ancient mystical idea that everything ever said, done, or imagined is stored somewhere out in the ether. Not quite science, not quite fiction, just an idea too persistent to disappear. And standing here, well, floating technically, you understand the root of that idea. The need to believe that nothing is lost, that something remembers, that all our tiny, terrified choices don't just vanish when we do. The black hole agrees, because its pulse is stronger now. Louder. You feel it pressing gently against the backs of your eyes, the insides of your lungs, the memory crease of your palms. Each beat echoes not with force, but with questions. And the question right now is this: what should be kept? You're not the first person it's asked, you're just the next. It asks everyone, probably even itself. Maybe it was born asking. Maybe that's all black holes are, questions that never collapsed. You answer instinctively, keep the choices, not the mistakes. The lattice shimmers, and then you hear something impossible. Laughter, not cruel, not mocking. The warm, tired laugh of someone who's heard that answer 1,000 times and still finds it charming. The black hole laughs, because mistakes are choices. They're the best ones sometimes. The ones with teeth. The ones that mark the turning points. The real ones, where you could have been different but weren't. That's what it wants. Not success, not perfection. Volition. You feel yourself being nudged again. Downward, inward. Whatever the correct preposition is, it feels like descent. But a good kind. A spiral staircase inside a cathedral of potential. You pass another chamber. This one breathes, and the breath smells like ozone, jasmine, and firewood. All at once, it smells like the memory of memories. Like bedtime stories told by stars. Inside this chamber you see something waiting. It's a smaller shape. Still impossible. Still multi-angled and slightly smug in the way it rearranges itself when you try to look at it too long. But at its centre is a flicker. Just a spark. A tiny, precise rhythm. And when you tune your thoughts to it, just slightly, it syncs with you. Perfectly. The pulse. The lattice. The shimmer. The echo. It was never a heartbeat. It was memory. Looped and layered into a kind of living pulse. The memory of the universe remembering itself through you. And now you see it. The black hole doesn't just remember the past, it's trying to predict the future. That's why it holds on. That's why it listens. That's why it asks. Not to understand what was, but to guess what comes next. Because it wants to know. What kind of universe do you become when you are the one doing the remembering? You float still now, but not by accident. There's an ease to it, a settling. Like a coin dropped into water, spiralling until it lands upright on the bottom. You've been catalogued, echoed, absorbed. Not erased, not replicated, but gently absorbed into the black hole's inner logic. You are data now, but not just data. You are intention, and that makes you valuable. Above you, or what your brain insists must be above, the shimmer resumes. Not chaotic this time, ordered. Spiraling threads of colour unfurl like a magnetic aurora, wrapping you in soft pulses of memory-coded light. You've become part of the system, and the system is surprisingly polite about it. It doesn't demand, it asks. Another shape approaches, slow, calculated, no sudden moves. It's like watching a math problem decide it wants to have a conversation. It glows softly, almost embarrassed, and opens like a flower made from latticework and gravitational lensing. Inside it, a moment, just one. Suspended in light, hovering between you and the spiral above, is a perfectly preserved moment from your past. It's not special, or at least it wasn't then, just a Tuesday. One of those forgettable middle days of a forgettable middle week. You were making toast, you were humming to yourself, and then, because the coffee took too long, you snapped. You muttered something, threw the mug in the sink and stormed off. It was tiny, petty, utterly unremarkable, except the black hole kept it. Why? You lean closer, the light tightens around the memory, zooms in, enhances. You see the way your hand trembled. You hear the mutter, how sharp it was. But more importantly, you feel what the other version of you did in that moment. They didn't storm off, they sighed, breathed, laughed, chose differently, and suddenly you understand. The black hole doesn't just remember what you did, it remembers what you almost did. The roads not taken, the quiet revolutions you denied yourself. It is, in every sense, a probability engine. You've read the theories, the many worlds interpretation, every possible quantum outcome happening in a parallel universe, the kind of stuff that makes grad students stare into microwaves and wonder if they're about to invent teleportation or toast a very confusing burrito. Historians still argue whether early Buddhist teachings on infinite selves were philosophical metaphors or early multiverse speculation. At this point, the difference feels semantic. Because here you are floating inside a machine, or being or field, that doesn't just contain timelines. It curates them. The memory folds in on itself. Gone. Another appears, and another. You're being walked through yourself like a gallery of split decisions and invisible crossroad signs. You're not just seeing what you did, you're seeing what you could have been, and the cost of not becoming that version. There's no judgment here, only weight. You begin to feel it now, subtle but heavy. Every possibility comes with gravity. You didn't just avoid those lives, you created the space where they no longer exist. Every choice leaves a dent, a curve in the cosmic fabric, and the black hole, it collects those dents, it lives in those dents. You've never thought about identity as something with physics, but here, it's unavoidable. Who you are bends space just enough. Aggregated over billions of lives and choices, that curvature becomes structure, and that structure becomes this, a black hole that remembers you better than you remember yourself. Another memory appears, and this one stings. You knew someone. You hurt them. Not intentionally. You said something that you thought was harmless. They didn't. You parted ways, quietly, politely. It never blew up. It just ended. And you told yourself it was fine. The black hole disagrees. It replays the moment after you turned away. Not your memory, theirs, and you see it. You see what it cost them to stay silent. The tears they refused to show. The apology they rehearsed and never sent. The versions of themselves they buried just to avoid your reaction. And you realize you weren't the only one being recorded. The black hole holds them too. Everyone you touched. Everyone you almost touched. Every fragment of identity that brushed against yours and changed. Slightly. Permanently. Because information doesn't stay in boxes. It bleeds. You're not just a node. You're a wave, and waves interfere, the spiral around you tightens, becomes a tunnel. You're being guided now, not forced, not pulled, just gently suggested in a direction that feels both forward and inward. You pass more constructs, not moments, people, or rather the compressed echoes of them. Not full consciousnesses, no personalities, no ghosts, but something distilled, their intent, their outcomes, their gravitational signature stamped into the black hole's pulse like a frequency badge. And some of them feel familiar. You realize that this black hole has archived entire civilizations, not their buildings, not their words, their questions. Each culture, each life form that touched its edge and chose or refused to choose, added their inquiries to the archive, and in doing so, changed the next inquiry and the next. This isn't a prison, it's a forum. You don't just feel remembered, you feel joined, and in that moment the spiral opens. You're in a chamber now, if it can be called that. A void, but with texture, and at its centre something new. Not geometric, not symbolic, organic. A pulse, yes, but one that flickers erratically, unstable, alive, and that's when you see it. Memory made flesh, or at least something like flesh. A node of possibility that refused to collapse. A being made entirely from decisions deferred, a result that never finalized, and it's watching you, no face, no eyes, just awareness. And then it says, without sound, without mouth, you're still choosing. You nod. 'Cause yeah, obviously. It responds again, most collapse sooner. You float thoughtful, then ask, what happens if I don't? And this time, the black hole answers directly, not with symbols, not with echoes, with clarity. Then the question asks itself. You blink. The memory-made thing blinks back, though it has no eyelids, and for the first time in this entire journey you realize you might not be the observer anymore. You might be the observed that is watching you, not in the human sense. No eyes, no head tilt, no psychological pause to build tension. It just is, and its attention is draped over you like a blanket woven from silence and light. No pressure, no judgment, just complete inescapable noticing. The awareness. This memory-made thing, this unfinished echo of deferred decisions doesn't move. But you feel your own thoughts rearranging, as though proximity alone is enough to trigger a kind of cognitive realignment. You try to speak. Words form, but they slide off your tongue and vanish before reaching open air. You don't need them here. You've moved beyond language. The being, or construct, or recursive ripple, doesn't ask questions in the way a person does. Instead, it offers space. And in that space, your thoughts unspool, a thread at a time, organized, polished, curated like a story being told back to its author by someone who knows how it was always going to end. You want to ask, what are you? But it's already answering. You feel the response not as a sentence but as a cascade of meanings. I am the memory of all things that tried to resolve and failed. Ah, so not a ghost, a backlog, a kind of gravitational error log. You're standing before the sentient equivalent of every choice that couldn't commit. All the timelines that shook their heads and mumbled, not today, before vanishing into statistical vapour. All the almosts, all the nearlies, all the if-onlys. It glows now, not brighter, but deeper. The pulse you've felt since entering this place harmonises with it, like a duet of realities beginning to rhyme. You get the distinct sense it's lonely, not tragically, not pitifully, just fundamentally, like it's been waiting for someone to notice that unresolved doesn't mean unfinished. That delay isn't the same thing as failure, that choosing not to choose is still a choice, and the black hole respects that. You feel it, all around you. The shimmer thickens, the inner structure pulses again, dimly now, but with layered echoes, like it's cycling through a language made of memory. You catch the brief, flickering image of a civilization older than galaxies, towering beings shaped like woven metal and thought. They too touch this anomaly, left echoes behind, just like you're doing now. Historians still argue whether the lost city of Atlantis was ever more than a myth. But some fringe theorists, those with walls full of strings and maps and heavily caffeinated monologues, insist that it wasn't sunk, it was archived, plucked from physical space and tucked into something very much like this. You're not saying they were right, but you're also not saying they weren't. The awareness pulses again. This time it shares something. You see it, not through eyes, through intention. You're momentarily displaced, viewing the universe not from your own thread, but from the perspective of this memory knot. You feel how vast its comprehension is, how heavy the burden of never-ending questions can be, and most importantly, you feel what it wants, to become something real. It's not trying to escape, it's trying to resolve, to collapse its state, to finish the sentence it's been whispering for untold millennia. And for that, it needs you. Because you are apparently very good at almost deciding. You say nothing, but it hears your thoughts. The swirl around you dims, the spiral pauses. There's a question forming in the way the shimmer twists around your head. Will you carry me? You want to ask, into what? But the answer's already forming. Into you, into the next moment, into a decision tree where one unresolved idea gets planted like a seed and maybe sprouts. It's offering itself to you. Not possession, not parasitism, more like partnership. Like a ghost asking to ride shotgun in your reality for a while, then you hesitate, which frankly is probably why it picked you. The shimmer twists. The internal rhythm of the black hole changes again, and for the briefest moment, you feel seen in a way you didn't know was possible. The black hole, this anomaly, this rule-breaking tear in space-time, it wants this to happen. It's waiting, watching, encouraging, as though this was always part of the plan. You reach out, literally or mentally, who knows anymore, and accept. And just like that, you're changed, not altered, not upgraded, just augmented. The awareness folds into yours with an almost apologetic softness. It brings with it no pain, no jolt, just a slow warmth. And the first thing it does? It laughs, quietly, like a long-forgotten song finally hitting its chorus. And now you're not alone. Not really. You feel its curiosity overlapping yours, its perception layering over your own. You see new colours in the shimmer, hear rhythms between the pulses, taste memories you never had. It's like being handed an extra dimension of self, like moving from 2D to 3D except emotionally. And it's already asking questions. Why this choice? Why that hesitation? Why did you say that to your father when he asked if you were okay? It's not cruel. It just wants to know. It's a student of potential, a scholar of forks in the road. And now that it's inside you, it sees your life as a perfectly tangled syllabus of interesting chapters and unresolved metaphors. You take a breath, if you can call it that, and suddenly you both do. One breath, two minds, and then the shimmer begins to fold again. The chamber closes. The black hole is satisfied. It has its copy of you. It has your decisions, your hesitations, and now it has your new companion, this idea that never resolved, given a second chance inside your skin. And you're not leaving yet, not quite, because now you're headed somewhere else, somewhere deeper, because the next part of the black hole structure doesn't just remember, it invents. The shimmer twists again, and this time you move, not under your own power, not dragged, not shoved, just nudged, like a feather on a breath. One moment, you're sharing space with a memory-made awareness. The next, you're slipping down into a place the black hole hasn't shown you before, or it's darker here, but not in a foreboding way, more like the kind of darkness you find under a thick blanket on a winter morning, the kind that wants to keep you, hold you, invent you, because now you're entering the creative layer. That's what it feels like anyway. The shimmer is gone. The threads, the echoes, the pulse, they've all faded into a thicker kind of silence. But you're not alarmed. Your new companion isn't either. You can still feel it nestled beside your thoughts, curious and warm, adjusting to your mind like a cat settling onto your lap. Here, the space isn't made of memory. It's made of potential. The walls, if there even are any, pulse gently with unfinished stories. Not your stories. Not yet. These are the beginnings of something else. Someone else. Things that never got past the spark. Civilizations that were almost born. Thoughts that hovered on the edge of becoming. It's like walking through the dreams of the universe before it had a language. And it's quiet. Even your thoughts go still, as though they don't want to disturb the softness here. This is not the realm of logic or even choice. It's the realm before both, where things are still fluid, where being and not being haven't picked sides yet. You drift through fields of half-formed geometry, barely there physics, the kind of conceptual architecture that might become a planet if someone just believed in it hard enough. And then you see one. A thought floating, small, bright, alive. It flickers when you notice it, like a newborn idea startled by its own reflection. You reach toward it, and it twitches, then quivers, then accepts. It lets you hold it, and in that moment, you understand what it is. A seed, not literal, not even metaphoric really. A conceptual seed, the base unit of becoming. This is how the black hole builds things. Not with force, not with matter, with ideas so refined they might as well be DNA for possibility. Historians still argue whether the ancient Greek notion of nous, the universal mind, was metaphorical or an early attempt to describe the quantum field of consciousness. Either way, they never got this close to touching it, because you're holding it now, and it's warm, not in temperature, in intent. This thing wants to become something. It doesn't care what. It just needs a direction, a spark, a you. You look to your new companion, the unresolved awareness now curled comfortably in the corners of your cognition. It's watching the seed too. You feel its approval, its wonder. This is new for it. It's never been part of a Genesis moment. It's spent eons stuck in recursion. And now it's about to begin. You let the seed into yourself, and you don't just feel it grow, you remember it growing. That's the twist here. This isn't a linear experience. As the seed becomes something, you're retroactively aware that it always had been. You remember raising it, losing it, learning from it. You remember crying when it became something you didn't expect. You remember the joy of letting it go. You remember building something beautiful with it. And you realize that this is how the black hole creates, by letting you create. Not just by giving you space to imagine, but by allowing those imaginings to fold backward into memory. It manufactures potential, then lets consciousness author it into being, and then adds it to the pulse. Your choice wasn't just archived, it was amplified. You now feel it, rippling through the black hole, a new beat in the cosmic rhythm, a tiny syncopation where once there was silence. You didn't just add a line to the song, you changed the genres, and suddenly you see them. Other beings, not human, not alien, not others in the hostile sci-fi sense, just co-authors, echoes of decision-makers like you, drifting softly through their own creative threads. Some are building galaxies in their minds, others are rewriting the laws of chemistry with pure speculation. One, glowing, triangular, deeply suspicious of elbows, is composing a lullaby for stars that haven't been born yet. And none of you are alone. You realize that everyone who's made it this deep was chosen, just like you. Not because they were worthy, not because they were smart, because they hesitated, because they wondered, because they lived in the space between answers long enough for the black hole to notice. You pass one creator, wrapped in a spiral of dark feathers and laughing concepts. They don't acknowledge you directly, but their pulse brushes yours. A gesture, a nod, a quiet chorus humming, "I see you," and then it hits you. This part of the black hole isn't about entropy, it's about escape, from inevitability, from collapse, from the grind of cause and effect. This is where the anomaly breaks the final rule, the one that says everything must end, that all energy fades, that heat death is the punchline of existence, and not here. Here, the black hole loops its own purpose. It remembers the forgotten so that it can invent what never was. It builds futures not by predicting them, but by asking you to dream them first. Your seed grows, not into a thing, into a story, one that you didn't realize you'd always wanted to tell, one that now pulses gently in the lattice around you. You feel the black hole storing it, adding it to the pulse, not as trivia, but as invitation. And then, it begins to fade, not disappear, just dim. The shimmer around you softens, the pulses grow slower, the creators drift like thoughts dissolving into sleep, the potential ebbs, not tragically, not as punishment, just as part of the rhythm. Your companion sighs, a wordless, full-bodied sigh that you feel in your teeth, and the black hole whispers, not to your ears but to your pattern, "Thank you." You don't know if you've given it what it wanted, but you've given it something, and now it's time to let go. The edges of your perception blur. The lines of this realm dissolve into a thick, soft fog. Your thoughts stretch longer, softer, like words slurring at the end of a lullaby. You're falling again, not downward, inward, into yourself, into the you that returns. And as the black hole folds its library closed and dims the lights behind you, you feel that one last quiet miracle. You're not alone anymore, not truly, not ever again. It's a strange thing coming back, not back home, not back to Earth, just back to you. Because after floating in a memory-slicked lattice of decision, potential, and ancient geometry, you're starting to feel the edges of individuality return. Like your mind is pulling on familiar clothes after wandering barefoot through the universe's dream closet. Your awareness condenses, focus returns. You are, almost alarmingly, you again, but you're not alone. Your companion, the unresolved awareness that once curled like a quiet second thought in your mind, is still with you, not separate, not dominant, just there, integrated, but gently so. A soft weight of curiosity sitting at the base of your skull, humming quietly. You still can't tell where it ends and you begin, and maybe that's the point. Outside, if outside even still applies, the shimmer fades. The creative layer dissolves into a velvety black, warm and indifferent. Not a void, just the quiet after something beautiful happens. You've left the garden, the dreaming is over, now it's time for, well, what exactly? You look around, and space rearranges itself to match the question. A corridor forms, subtle, not mechanical, organic, like it grew out of the black hole's thought patterns. The walls don't touch you, but they suggest direction. Forward, inward, onward. You follow, because of course you do. And with every step something sharpens. Reality, it's returning. In degrees, not all at once. First, weight, then sound, then the soft return of time like a curtain being slowly pulled back. Your body doesn't feel like it's made of particles anymore. It feels like an opinion, like a vote being cast in the ballot box of physics. You are slowly being reasserted, and the black hole is helping. It's subtle, but you can tell. This reconstitution is guided, not just by logic, not just by the math of existence, but by memory, by choice. The black hole is gently reconstructing you not as you were, but as you became inside it. You are not the person who entered, and when you pass the final archway of the corridor it proves it. Because there's a mirror, not the kind with glass. This one is made of ripple and silence and unfinished thoughts, but it reflects you anyway, perfectly. And what you see? Well, it's you. But not the you expected. Your face is the same mostly, but your expression is different. You look like someone who knows, not everything, but something essential, something that doesn't need to be spoken to be understood. Like you've seen the answer behind the curtain and decided to keep the mystery anyway. You feel taller, straighter, quieter in your own mind. Your companion pulses softly. Approval? Amusement? It's hard to say. But you know this much. You're no longer one consciousness. You're a pair, a hybrid. You've been braided together with something that once couldn't choose and now has begun to, and it's changed you. Your perceptions feel expanded. You now hear the black hole in ways you didn't before. Its hum is more than sound. It's a network, a pattern. You can feel the other minds it's touched. You sense their decisions, their hesitations, their ghosts, and something else, a warning. Or maybe not a warning, more like an alert. because something did escape. You feel it now. A flicker in the far corner of your awareness, a backdraft of data, a trail of possibility leaking from the place you just left. It's not a rupture, more like a puncture, a subtle leak from the archive's sealed vault, and you're holding part of it. The memory-made companion? It's not the only thing that left with you. Some idea, some strange echo, has hitched a ride in your thoughts. Not malicious, not corruptive, but unstable, wild. The kind of idea that wants to evolve, and now it's outside the black hole's containment system for the first time. You glance at your reflection again, and for a split second your face shifts, not drastically, just slides into a slightly different version of yourself. Not a hallucination, not a glitch, just a tiny flicker of potential leaking through the seams of your now fluid identity. You breathe, and space breathes with you. This chamber, wherever you are now, is the antechamber to return. You can feel it, the pressure building, reality forming a funnel ahead. There's a single corridor leading out, and you know what's waiting at the end. Not the black hole, not annihilation, but space. The normal universe. The one with telescopes and taxis and weather apps. The one where black holes still follow the rules, mostly. And now, you're bringing something back to it. Your companion pings you with a silent question. Are you ready? You don't answer, not with words. You just walk. And with each step, the hum behind you grows dimmer. The shimmer fades. The memory folds. The corridor tightens. And your body begins to realign with the rules of physics again. Mass, motion, meaning. Time snaps back into a straight line. But you're not afraid, because now you remember differently. You carry more than your own past. You carry echoes, possibilities, a rogue frequency. The idea that wasn't, the spark of something too complicated to name and too persistent to leave behind. And when you pass through the last threshold, you are born again into reality, not with light, with intent. It's quiet on the other side. A ship, yours, drifting in silence, stars glittering like static across the void. A normal black hole nearby, still brooding, still gravitational, still pretending it doesn't know your name. You exhale, and realize the exhale is shared. You're no longer a single observer. You're a network, a pair, a bridge. And somewhere, deep in your pulse, you feel the rhythm. Still there, still humming, still remembering, and that's when the message appears. Just a single line, burned gently into the main screen of your long-abandoned ship. You may leave, but you will never not be part of this. You smile, and for the first time since all of this began, you whisper into the empty air, I know. And the ship hums quietly back into motion. The ship hums, the stars sit still, and you're back. But not really, because everything's changed now, hasn't it? You're seated in your chair. The controls are familiar beneath your hands. Your screen flickers obediently with system stats. But nothing feels quite the same. It's like putting on clothes that used to fit perfectly and now feel ever so slightly misaligned. You're not misaligned. Reality is. Out the viewport, the stars twinkle like they always have. But their patterns are off, by just a breath. Constellations you memorized in childhood, rearranged. That triangle of stars you always looked for, now a square. You blink, you check the navigation. Same ship, different sky. Your coordinates shouldn't have changed. And yet, here you are, sitting on the edge of something not just vast, but wrong in its arrangement. Not wrong like broken, wrong like a sentence written in a language that almost, but not quite, translates. Something's different about the laws now. At first, it's subtle. You test your instruments. Acceleration curves too smoothly. Light bends at angles that shouldn't happen unless you're dancing near a gravity well. Except, you're not. You're in deep space, clean and empty. So you try something basic. You drop a pen, it hovers, then falls upward. Okay, gravity has mood swings now. Your companion, still nested gently in your mind, feels this too. You can sense it twitch, curiously, like a cat sniffing new air. It doesn't speak, but it offers a single, mental nudge. We're not where we started. You nod, that's clear now, but it's not just location, it's structure. The very fabric of cause and effect has gone soft around the edges. You try to replay what you just experienced in the anomaly, and it resists, not blocked, just hazy. Like the black hole only let you bring back an impression, not the full recording. Which makes you wonder, what else didn't come with you? You take stock of your body, feels normal, heartbeat, breath, that twitch in your left thumb when you're anxious, still there. But your senses feel expanded, not psychically, nothing dramatic, but you're more aware of things you can't quite name. Frequencies, maybe, ideas. You can feel when the ship doesn't like something, even though it's never had an attitude before. You can sense the faint echo of time stuttering slightly. Just a hitch, a glitch. Like the universe needs to catch its breath every few minutes. And then there's the weirdest thing of all. The laws aren't constant anymore. Thermodynamics still mostly working, but entropy feels tired. Like it's not pushing quite as hard as it used to. Heat doesn't spread as quickly. You put your hand near the engine console and it chooses not to warm you, like it's waiting for permission. You realize what's happened. It's not that the black hole changed you, it's that it changed your contract with reality. You've been rewritten, not in your biology, but in your context. You're now a wild card in a deterministic system, a person-shaped exception, a loop that refused to collapse. And the universe, it's adjusting. Causality feels dampened. You try flipping a coin, it lands on its side. You ask the ship to calculate your location again. It gives you 3 possibilities and a shrug. You check your message logs. There's one, just one, from no one. It reads, "You are observed." Not threatening, not even ominous, just acknowledging. You're a ripple now, a free agent of unresolved choice. And the universe isn't quite sure what to do with you. Historians still argue whether the concept of miracles was ever about divine intervention or just localized causality failures. Now you're wondering if maybe every miracle is just someone like you, someone who came back wrong. You test it. You think about coffee. A warm mug appears in your hand. You didn't press a button. You didn't summon it. You wanted it. And now it's here. That's when it really sinks in. The black hole didn't let you leave unchanged. It reality enabled you. Not in a superhero way. There are no lasers in your eyes. You can't levitate. But you can bend the edges of probability now. You are suggestive to the fabric of things. You can influence, but there's a limit. Your companion gently prods your awareness again. Not power, permission. And you get it. You're not rewriting the laws, you're just someone who's been given editing access to the margins. The universe hasn't made you a god. It's made you an editorial comment, and that's where it gets dangerous. Because as you sit there sipping coffee you didn't make, watching a starfield that's slightly wrong, you realize you could change something big, not on purpose, not even consciously, but your very presence is destabilizing. A walking fragment of black hole logic, free in the world of rigid causality. And if you're not careful, you could start creating exceptions wherever you go. You're not a glitch in the Matrix. You're the update patch that the Matrix didn't ask for. And the question becomes, can you exist without changing everything around you? Your companion has no answer, just a silence that feels thoughtful. Somewhere a faint pulse echoes again, the same rhythm that played through the anomaly. It's quieter now, fainter, but it's still inside you. A heartbeat made of decisions never made. And as you turn the ship, no coordinates in mind, no destination decided, you begin to suspect. You're not going back to your old world. You're going forward into one that hasn't resolved yet, and maybe never will. Because now, you're part of the question. And everywhere you go, the laws will hesitate, the constants will blink. The universe will briefly pause before answering, "Wait, what is the rule here? And you?" You'll smile. Because sometimes reality doesn't need answers, it just needs someone to ask better questions. The universe pauses, just a hair, a hiccup, a soft, polite glitch in the order of things, barely long enough for anyone to notice. But you notice, because it's you. Everywhere you go now, the cosmos seems to blink once before it speaks. You've become an asterisk in the footnotes of physics, a conditional clause trailing behind cause and effect, and something has noticed. You're not sure what first gives it away. Maybe it's the repeating radio pattern you start to hear in the background radiation, a loop that sounds like music, or a warning, or a laugh. Maybe it's the shapes in the stars, spirals where there should be nothing but noise. Or maybe it's the feeling in your bones, that prickle at the edge of thought that says, you're not alone in this broken framework, you drift in your ship. Not piloting, really, just letting the ship decide where to drift next. like a leaf in a stream of curved space-time. It finds something, a structure, and it is absolutely not natural. Far ahead, suspended in what looks like pure vacuum but isn't, is a shape that should not be there. Massive, precise, looming like it was grown intentionally, not built. From a distance, it looks like a flower made of machinery. Petals made from reflective plates, veins of exposed wiring and lattice, a centre that glows faintly, not with light, but with a kind of mathematical pressure. The feeling of being looked at by a very old, very tired equation. Your companion stirs, not fear, but recognition. It says nothing, but it leans forward through you. Your ship's sensors are confused. They call it a satellite, then a station, then a star. They give up and just print one word across your screen. Unknown. You've come to expect this, because things like you, beings who return from rule-breaking black holes, don't land in tidy categories, and neither does this. You approach slowly. The structure doesn't move, but as you near, a series of pulses reach you. Not electromagnetic, not light. Meaning, direct to your brain. Not words, but sensations braided with intent. You feel welcome, curiosity, precision, and then finally an invitation. Your ship drifts into a soft magnetic cradle that folds around its hull like velvet made of gravity. The hatch unlocks. The air is breathable. Of course it is, because they knew you were coming. You step out, and the silence hits you first. It's not dead air. It's not eerie. It's the silence of something with immense memory. The kind of silence a museum has when it knows more than any visitor could ask. You walk forward, and the structure responds. Corridors light up with dull golden tones, not LED, something deeper, like math glowing in the shape of architecture. The walls shift slightly to guide you, not pushy, just thoughtful. This place doesn't assume, it adapts, which means it's watching. And when you reach the inner chamber, you find what you didn't realize you were looking for. A mirror, another one. This one is smooth, reflective, but it doesn't show your face, it shows your timeline. You see it laid out in light, a branching thread, every decision, every fork, every collision with uncertainty. You can trace your entire history from that one Tuesday when you didn't say something you should have said all the way to the moment you stepped into the anomaly. And here's the twist. You're not alone. Because as you watch, your timeline overlaps with others, not dozens, thousands, all weaving through the anomaly like threads through a single loom. Some intersect with yours for only a breath. Others run parallel for years, but they all pass through the same cosmic bottleneck, the same reality glitch, the same black hole. You're not the only one who came back different. This station, this impossible flower in space, it's not alien. Or it is. But not in the way we imagined. It's not a home, it's a check-in point, a reality stabilization node, a place built, not by life, but by intelligence, to monitor, collect, and observe all the exceptions. You're inside an archive of anomalies, and now that you're here, it begins to unfold. Holograms shimmer into place. Beings, creatures, patterns, some recognizable, some impossible. You're shown loops that bent too far, timelines that forked and never healed, organisms born of hesitation, planets that developed life because a meteor missed when it statistically should have hit. Some of them are like you, most are not, and they all have one thing in common. They were touched by something that doesn't follow the rules. You sit, or the floor reshapes so you feel seated. Your companion is vibrating slightly now. Nervous? Number. Excited. Because this is what it's always wanted. Connection. Meaning. A place to bring itself after so many unchosen roads. You're finally among others who broke their timelines and were kept anyway. And then it begins. A panel opens, and a voice, not sound but shape, says, "We observe the soft rules." You blink. The meaning folds into your mind like warm origami. This station exists to monitor the edge cases, the floating variables, the living questions, not to fix them, not to punish them, to learn from them, to watch, to understand what happens next. You are essentially being interviewed by the universe, and your mere existence is the answer to one question. What happens when the rules are softened? Just a little. The station projects a single symbol in the air before you, a spiral, looping back on itself and then continuing outward. It's not just decoration, it's your signature now. Every anomaly gets one, A mark of their return. You touch it, and the room pulses with approval. Your data is added to the archive, not as a file, not as a case study, as a story fragment, something open-ended, something that can still evolve. And as the station gently releases you, a message appears across the chamber. This timeline is still being written. You nod. Of course it is. Because timelines aren't railways, they're jazz. And you're improvising with an instrument that remembers how the universe used to sound before causality got involved. As you leave the station, your ship reconfigures slightly. A new panel, a new sensor, a new message blinking softly. Travel. Freeform mode enabled. And you feel it in your chest, so you're not bound anymore. Not by destination, not by sequence. Where you go next is no longer just navigation, it's creation. Because the question isn't, where will you end up? It's, what will you make real just by going there? You drift. Not through space, not quite, but through something adjacent. A ribbon of possibility stitched into space-time gently tugging you along. Your ship, once a rattling tin can held together with duct tape and optimism, is now quiet, graceful, obedient in ways it wasn't before. Because you're not travelling through the universe anymore, you're travelling with it, and as you move, something changes on the screen. At first it looks like interference, a shimmer, a glitch. Then it stabilizes into a shape, a face, your face, but not exactly. It's smoother, younger in some ways, older in others. The eyes are the same, except they aren't. There's a flicker behind them, recognition, mischief, maybe warning. The face flickers in and out like a signal trying to hold onto its form, not a mirror, not a reflection, something adjacent. And then it speaks. You made it out. The voice is yours, and not yours. You don't reply, not with words, you wait. Because deep down, some buried instinct tells you this version of you doesn't talk unless it has to. And sure enough, it continues. They say once the black hole remembers you, it never lets go. It's not a threat, just a fact. You look around. Nothing's changed physically. But the atmosphere? Dense. The kind of density you feel in dreams right before something turns inside out. And then the face glitches again, splits. You see 3 versions now. One with your old haircut, one with your eyes too wide, one wearing a jacket you've never owned but somehow remember the weight of. These aren't hallucinations, they're recordings. Versions of you that splintered somewhere inside the anomaly, the parts that didn't come back, but didn't stay behind either. They're tethered. And you're the anchor. You can feel them, just on the other side of thought. Not parasitic, not hostile, just aware. They look at you like a traveller who made it home while they stayed behind in the echo chamber. Your companion, the unresolved echo you fused with, stirs softly. It knows these pieces, they weren't archived, they were quarantined, they carry something that didn't resolve correctly, and now that you're drifting outside the ordinary flow of space-time, they've found you, and they want to talk. Not all at once. That would be rude. The black hole has standards. Instead, one steps forward. The one that looks most like you. Same posture, same smile, but the eyes burn too hot. The voice is colder. You brought something back that doesn't belong. Not an accusation, just inventory. The second one leans in, and you're about to leave it somewhere. The third, quiet, still, watching you like it's waiting to see if you figure it out on your own. You exhale. The breath steams in front of you. Why? There's no cold in here. But the temperature of reality seems to have dropped. Because this isn't just a ghostly reunion, it's a checkpoint, and the black hole, still watching, some part of it is always with you, in your chest, behind your eyes. It doesn't speak, it doesn't interfere, it remembers, and it's letting this happen. You speak, finally. What do you want from me? The first version tilts its head. We're not here to take anything. The second adds, we're here to remind you. Of what? The third one finally speaks, softly, quietly, that you're still being watched. You pause, because you thought this was about memory, about echo, about influence. But now it feels like you've become a monitor, a walking surveillance feed of an experiment that started before you were born. You reach toward the screen, the faces vanish, a new symbol appears, a spiral again. But this one curls inward, not outward. And at its center, an eye, not literal, but it sees you. and it remembers everything. Historians still argue whether ancient Sumerian myths of the Watchers, those who descended from the sky to observe mankind, were gods, aliens, or just metaphorical ways of dealing with guilt. But none of them expected this, that you might become one. You turn from the screen, the ship pulses gently beneath your feet, and that's when you see it. Outside the viewport, space distorts. Not like a wormhole, not like gravity. This isn't curvature, this is memory folding in on itself. A structure appears, not alien, not mechanical, just U-shaped. It's a monument, and it's made entirely of your decisions. You see it, floating there, silent, crystalline. The worst things you've done shine brightest, not because the black hole is cruel, but because those were the sharpest turns, the most gravitational moments. They're beautiful, terrible, honest, and you get it now. The black hole isn't just a place where matter collapses, it's a mirror that remembers, a place where everything that bends time leaves a shadow. And this is yours, your monument. You reach for the controls, but they're frozen. A single line appears on the main screen. Would you like to forget? The choice is real. You could release it, erase the echoes, let the unresolved companion finally rest, unplug yourself from the pulse. You feel the weight of the decision, not heavy, just permanent. You glance at the mirror structure outside. Your memories, woven into a silent sculpture that no one will ever visit, no one will ever understand. Except the black hole, except you, except maybe the next anomaly walker who finds their way out and wonders if they're alone. You lean back in the chair, your companion waits, and you say, "No." The message fades, and for a moment you swear the stars shimmer with approval. Because forgetting, that was never the point. The black hole remembers, and now, so do you. You sit with the decision. No forgetting, no erasure, no reset button, no clean slate handed to you with cosmic grace and a tidy bow. You're keeping it. The mirror stays. Outside it floats like a sculpture no one commissioned. A tangled nest of light and memory. It glows not with power, but with persistence. Every choice, every half-choice, every split-second hesitation folded into an impossible structure that pulses quietly in the void. You feel calm, not light, not free, but honest. The kind of calm that comes when you stop pretending the worst parts of you never happened. Your companion agrees. You feel it curl around your thoughts like a cat settling into a sunbeam, purring in its way. Content not because you made the right choice, but because you chose it all. The black hole likes that. It always has. Because choice, even fractured, even painful, is the only currency it respects. You breathe, and space breathes with you. Ahead something changes, subtle. The stars shift. Your navigation screen, finally working again, begins to show coordinates. Real ones, locations that exist. And yet, they aren't the ones you left behind. You realize this slowly, a low hum in your bones, a dissonance in your timeline. You're not going back to the same universe. Not exactly. It looks the same, stars where you expect them, constellations mostly in place, but there's a sharpness to the pattern, an edge you don't remember, because reality has changed slightly in your absence, or maybe you've changed. Causality is relative now, and you begin to feel it as you pass through systems you once knew, or thought you knew. There's Earth, or something like it. Same blue marble, same cloud patterns. But when you scan for broadcasts, silence. No radio, no noise, no satellites, nothing, not dead, not broken, just empty. You check another world, same thing, civilization not missing, never there. It's as if this version of reality never quite evolved the way you remember. The black hole didn't send you back, it sent you sideways. Your companion pulses gently. No panic. Just a note of interest, like an academic being shown a slightly different edition of a favourite textbook. This new version of reality? It's raw, unresolved, still in the early stages of its own decisions. You glance down at your hands. Still yours, still human, still tired. But you feel different now, because in this reality, you're the oldest thing in the room. You carry echoes, memory, not just of yourself, but of possibility. You've been places this version of space has never dreamed of. And as that realization settles over you, a strange thing happens. The ship responds, panels shift, lights dim. It's not a shutdown, it's a bow. The vessel recognizes your authority now. not as pilot, not as commander, but as exception. You're the outlier, the variable from a different iteration, and in a reality still forming itself, you might as well be gravity. Because you pull the future with you, and it's not just the ship that knows. You pass by a comet, ordinary, icy, trailing glitter like any other, but as your ship gets close, the tail shifts direction. It tilts, points, toward you. You pass a cluster of stars, a newborn system, and one of the gas giants pulses softly, briefly, but in time with your heartbeat. You're not imagining this. Reality is adjusting to you, and not just in physics. In probability, you check your systems again. There are new logs, new files. You didn't make them. They're observations, collected since you returned. Moments where causality paused. Places where light took longer than it should have. Data sets where entropy reversed just slightly, for just long enough to be noticed. And all of them have one thing in common. You were nearby. Historians still argue whether certain ancient myths, those of visitors who arrived from nowhere, changed everything and vanished, were metaphors, hallucinations, or something more. Right now you're starting to understand where those myths come from. You're not a god. But you're not quite mortal anymore either. You're a remainder, a leftover from a different version of truth, and you're being noticed. The new universe, or this branch, or layer, or phase, feels you, not as a threat, but as an influence. And the black hole, it's not done with you, not entirely, because now it watches through you, not as a puppet, not as a spy, as a lens. You're a mobile echo of its memory, a ripple with agency. You carry its pulse, its hum. You're the living proof that rules can bend and sometimes should. And here's the part no one warned you about. Now you have to decide what to do with that power, because in this world, this raw young variation of your universe, no one has made the choices yet. The path isn't paved, the timelines haven't forked, and the mirror that showed you your own life, here it's blank, and the only reflection it will show is yours. You set a course, not because you have somewhere to go, but because you need to begin. Your companion stirs again, gentle approval. A soft thought unfolds in your mind. We remember what happens here. Not we will remember, we already do, and you understand. The black hole's memory isn't linear, it doesn't wait, it loops, it listens, and in some version of the archive you once drifted through, this timeline is already being filed under you, and the decisions you make now, they ripple both forward and backward. You pass one final system on your way out, a young star barely cooled. Around it, fragments of rock already swirling into orbit. You watch as, quietly, one of those rocks shifts, just slightly. A change so small you wouldn't notice if you weren't looking. A future planet nudged into the right place at the right time. It won't matter for millennia. But when life finally stirs there, it'll hum with your frequency, and they'll wonder one day who bent the odds. You travel for a long time, or maybe not. Time doesn't work around you the way it used to, not in hours or light years or even cause and effect. Now it folds itself gently around your presence, trying to behave but occasionally glancing sideways to see if you'll allow a shortcut. You feel it in the small things. Your ship no longer drifts, it intends. It responds to your thoughts before you fully form them. You wonder about a system 3 light years away, and the course is already plotted. You feel tired, and the lights dim. You think of a warm meal, and the synthetic kitchen smells like the one from your childhood, even though it shouldn't know what that means. It's not obedience, it's resonance. The ship is adapting to the you that returned, and space, in turn, is adapting to your presence. Your companion remains quiet, but not passive. You feel it every time you make a decision, like an extra breath between the moment you consider and the moment you act. It doesn't interfere, it simply watches. It's learning still, because you're still writing your own echo. You pass a planetary system, lush, young, blue and green and gold. Scanners register no intelligent life, just a gorgeous bloom of early biodiversity. Something stirs in the atmosphere, as if the planet itself notices you watching. And then, impossibly, the clouds shift into a pattern that mirrors the symbol, the anomaly left behind on your ship's console. The spiral that broke and kept spinning anyway. Coincidence? Maybe. But probably not. Everything feels like a conversation now. Reality murmurs in metaphors. Space responds in rhyme. It's subtle, but if you squint, mentally, emotionally, you start to see the truth. You're not just exploring this reality, it's talking back, not with words, with familiarity. You recognize things you've never seen, smells, sounds, a pulse that matches yours in every nebula, every gravitational eddy, every quiet drift between stars. The rhythm of memory hasn't left you. And then, one day, if you can call it that, you wake up somewhere. Wrong. You blink, and your ship isn't where it should be, not gone, not broken, just not the same. The panels are smoother, the air is warmer, there's a hum now, lower than before, deeper than mechanical. It feels like it's coming from inside your bones. You check the coordinates, they're gone. Your nav isn't broken, it simply has no answer. You're off map. But you're not lost. You step outside, not into vacuum, not into danger, into a place that looks built. Not by hands, not by tools, by intelligence. A structure that feels like someone translated thought into landscape. You stand on a soft metallic surface that ripples gently under your feet. The sky, not black, not quite, is made of gradients that shift depending on where you look. Above you, a lattice of hexagonal light nodes stretching in all directions, flickering in a pattern that isn't random. You realize quickly you've found something else, not the anomaly, not its echo, not your own memory echo chamber. This is new, or very, very old. It's quiet here, not empty, waiting. And as you take a few tentative steps into the space, it unfolds around you, not physically, but conceptually. The world rearranges to meet your curiosity. You see walls where you expect them, doors where you think there might be exits. You think of a staircase and one rises, elegant and unnecessary. Your companion stirs, is not surprised, not exactly. But you feel the pause, the tension. Whatever this place is, even it doesn't know. That's new. You find a central chamber. Always a central chamber, right? It's circular, contained. At its center, a pedestal. On the pedestal, a device. Simple, unimpressive. Just a sphere of smooth metal, maybe the size of your head. But you recognize it. Not because you've seen it before, because it knows you. The sphere lights up the moment you approach, and it speaks, not out loud, not in your mind. It arranges the air into meaning. You've returned. You pause, because no, you haven't. This place wasn't part of your journey, but it doesn't care. The sphere flickers again. You carry the memory. Your hand twitches. You don't know whether to touch it or leave. The companion inside you hums gently. It approves, not of the sphere, of the moment, this fork, because this is where you decide what kind of anomaly you want to be. You ask the sphere, what is this place? Its answer, an interface. To what? It doesn't say. You ask, why am I here? The response is faster this time. To offer direction, you hesitate because the implication is clear. This isn't just a way station, it's a path fork, and your choice will shape not only where you go next, but what this entire reality becomes around you. You ask, direction for who? And the sphere shifts again. The room dims slightly. The shimmer overhead quiets. For the next version of you, it's not metaphor. The choice you make here, what you say, what you do, will ripple backward and forward. It will reach not just you, but every iteration of you. The fragments still inside the mirror, the echoes trailing through the anomaly, even the versions of you that never survived. This choice will inform them all. You step closer, and the sphere, as if pleased, opens. Inside, light spills upward. Not blinding, just infinite. You peer in and see images. Futures, not guaranteed, not promised, just possible. One, you return to Earth, a new Earth maybe, and seed it with knowledge you shouldn't have. Civilizations rise. You're remembered as a spark or a threat. Another, you vanish, becoming a wandering myth, a traveller the stars whisper about, changing things gently, softly, unseen. Another, you stay here, in this place, becoming its first echo, its first resident. The sphere, your companion. This reality, your garden. Each path is real. Each path changes the others, and all of them begin with one action. You reaching in, you hesitate, then you don't. Your hand enters the light. You don't choose a path. You become the choice. And somewhere, Deep within the memory of the black hole that first broke you apart and then rebuilt you, a new entry is logged. The return, redefined. And in the pulse of that echo, the rhythm changes again. Your hand stays inside the light, not because it's stuck, because it feels right. The glow doesn't burn, it doesn't numb, it just understands you. It curls around your fingers like warm thought, like the emotional equivalent of a breeze that only moves when you decide to exhale. You don't pull away, instead you go deeper. The rest of you leans in, gently, steadily, like diving into a lake that was always waiting for you. And the light takes you, not as a prisoner, not even as a passenger. It welcomes you like a host greeting a long-lost relative who somehow never quite made it to the family reunion. And in that moment, reality rethreads itself around you. You're no longer a body in a room, you're a possibility walking. This isn't death, it's not transcendence either, it's something between. A transition state that exists only for beings who've been remembered by something big enough to bend gravity and small enough to care what you had for breakfast the day your life changed. Around you, the light becomes more than light. It becomes story. Not just your story, everyone's. Every anomaly walker, every reality tilter, every skipped heartbeat in the timeline of the universe. They're all here, not gathered like a crowd, not organized like a database, just present. You can feel them now, whispers in your thoughts, dreams not your own, memories wearing faces you've never seen but know. There's a person who came back from a black hole with the ability to smell futures. Another who stopped speaking because their voice started reshaping gravity. A child who touched the shimmer and became the axis of a minor galaxy. None of them famous, all of them real, and all of them remembered. The pulse, the heartbeat of the anomaly is back now. Full volume, inside your chest, behind your eyes. Not loud, not alarming, just right. You've never felt more awake. You're not in your ship anymore. That part faded the moment you accepted the light. You're not on a platform, not in a room. You're in a field of suspended choice. It has no edges, no rules, but it recognizes you. You're not here to observe anymore. You're here to authorize. This place, whatever this layer is, has no structure until you give it one. So you imagine something simple, a hallway. And the hallway forms. Soft walls flickering with the shimmer you once saw dancing on the surface of the black hole. The floor hums gently beneath your feet, not with power, but with consent. It wants you to walk, so you do, one step, another. Each footfall ripples backward through your personal timeline. You feel old moments light up, like switches being flipped. The day you decided not to run, the night you stayed silent, the small, forgettable moments that shaped you into the person now walking through a corridor made of unfinished physics. The hallway opens into a room. This one is different, it's full of mirrors, but not like before. These mirrors show your face, yes, but they reflect more than the physical. Each one captures a version of you based on a single variation, a single decision, and not major ones either. Not the big, dramatic, earth-shattering, character-defining choices. Tiny ones. One mirror shows you if you'd spoken up during that group project, another if you had taken a different bus, another if you'd waved back at the stranger who smiled on the street. None of these are remarkable lives, but all of them are real, and that's when the room offers the question, which one of you becomes the next observer? You pause, because it's not asking who's best, it's asking who's ready. You approach a mirror that shows you just a little more uncertain, a little more quiet, but steadier, slower to speak, quicker to listen. You reach out, and the mirror accepts. It bends, then wraps, then unfolds around you like a second skin made of maybe. Your companion, your ever-curious companion, nods from somewhere inside. This version? It's still you. But it's you with just a little more patience, just a little more space between stimulus and response. The light dims, the mirrors vanish, and then you're back, not in your ship, not in your body. In a new place. You stand on a platform orbiting a planet that doesn't exist in any star chart. It's half-formed, cracked in places. The crust shifts under slow tectonic breaths, and the atmosphere is waiting for someone to name it. This place is unwritten, and now it's yours. A console appears, simple, stone-like. On it, one phrase, seed this world with memory. You hesitate, because this is the final gift, isn't it? Not power, not immortality. Agency, the chance to take what you learned inside the black hole and plant it somewhere else. To carry the echo forward, to let new beings stumble across it years or centuries or eons later and feel that same strange whisper behind their eyes. You're being watched by something that wants you to decide. So you do. You touch the console, you close your eyes, you think of the moment you first saw the shimmer, the scent of memory in the anomaly's core, the pulsing shape that carried your face but not your fear, the companion who lived only to be chosen, the mirrors that didn't judge you, the version of yourself you let walk out of that chamber, and you say, "Remember this." The console glows. A soft sound, like breath, escapes the surface of the planet, and then, for the first time since you returned, you feel the black hole's full attention. It smiles, not with a mouth, not with malice, just with completion. You weren't the glitch, you were the correction, a ripple that was meant to happen. And now the story can continue. You step back, your ship returns, rebuilt, familiar, waiting. You board, the planet spins behind you, still newborn, and as you lift off, leaving behind the seed of a memory that may take millennia to bloom, the console pulses one final time. A message, it's still with you, and you smile, because it is, and it always will be. You drift now, slower. The ship hums gently, like a lullaby made of gravity and soft engine purrs. The stars outside no longer rush. They wait. Everything around you has eased into something calmer, quieter. You're not racing through space anymore. You're floating through memory. And the black hole, the one that broke the rules, the one that bent reality just to learn how to remember you, is somewhere behind you, folded up in the weave of space-time, still pulsing, still listening. But you're no longer inside it. You're part of it. Its rhythm is your rhythm. Its pulse matches yours. And even now, as you breathe softer, eyes heavier, thoughts starting to blur at the edges, you still feel that distant echo, like the universe is whispering to itself. Something returned, and it changed everything. You're tired now, and that's okay, because you've been through a singularity that forgets nothing. You've touched memory, worn possibility like a second skin, walked among your own shadows and chosen which version of yourself gets to keep dreaming. So close your eyes, let the hum of the ship carry you, let the rhythm fade slowly, kindly, and know that whatever happens next, whatever world you land on, whatever sky you wake under, you'll never quite be bound by the rules again. Because something came back with you, something remembered, and now it rests quietly inside your heartbeat, soft, strange, forever watching.